who better to judge our wonderful Sara Bay talent show than the esteemed Simon Cowell.
Well, our next judge, I'm almost too excited to even introduce. Luckily, he gave me his own introduction, and so I quote, "It is true that as we age, our bodies spread here, there, and everywhere." Oh, that is so profound, Marilyn. Oh. So what should we do to help our bulging bodies? We've brought back Richard Simmons.
Our next judge was born into royalty in a famed Nordic country. However, the position of king went to his half-brother, his mother's favorite, you know? So he's now engaged as the chief sheep herder on the Faroe Islands, which entitles him to a generous retirement benefit and continuous use of crown and gown. We are so fortunate that he was here in Florida introducing a new breed of self-shearing, shearless sheep to the sheep shearing champagne campaign in Sarasota. Everyone, please rise as we welcome the Honorable King Frederic.
Well, we are ready to start. Our first liar is Wayne Hasek. Now, Wayne says he grew up on a Nebraska farm and attended a one-room school. After college, Wayne started his career as a rocket engineer. But he got bored after too many launches, and so he looked for a more challenging career as a junior high school shop teacher. Let's all welcome Wayne to the stage.
When I signed up for this, I didn't realize this was a liar's contest until I saw that program there. So I'm just going to tell the story, the family story. Anyway, get closer. Get a little bit closer. How's that? Yeah. How's that? That better? Okay, here we go. Anyway, this story took place in the 60s.
Hold it.
Okay. Okay.
Start over. We're going to judge you. We want to hear every
You
word.
want to hear every word? I don't remember what I said. Okay, well, when I signed up for this, I didn't realize this was a liar's contest. You know I wouldn't come here and tell lies to you people. Anyway, my story is about back in the 1960s. We were at my wife's sister's. Is that too loud? Okay. Start over. Anyway, back in the 1960s, we were at my wife's sister's place, Karen, and her husband Mike, and her sister Pat, and her husband Bill were there. And we went there. We were going to water ski because Mike's dad had this little boat. It was about a 14-footer, and it was all made out of plywood and wood, and it was painted up red. It was kind of pretty, but you know, it just had bench seats like park benches, and it had a 28-horse Scott Atwater on it. But when we got there, well, Mike says, "Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but that motor just won't run anymore." So that kind of ended it for them. And then Karen says, "Well, maybe we should just take up a collection here and get some money, and we'll buy ourselves another motor for that thing." So, well, of course, Bill, you know, he was kind of cheap anyway, and he says, "Well, yeah, I put in $10 for this thing," and of course, that was back in 1960 anyway. Of course, then Karen let into him and said, "You know, how cheap you are and everything." Well, then he finally came up with $50, and I think Mike and I threw in 100 or about 200, and anyway, Mike found this 35-horse Johnson with electric start. So anyway, we got to working on that, but of course, Pat and Bill, they were from St. Louis, so they had to leave, and even before we got the thing running. And then, of course, later on that summer, because they were educators, they came up during the week. Well, the rest of us were working during the week and couldn't get off. So Jane's younger brother, John, he was in high school then, and he was pretty good with the boat. In fact, he was kind of cocky with the thing. You know, when he rode on this thing, this little boat had those bench seats, but it had a partition between the front and back seat. And he always sat up there on that partition. He wouldn't sit down in that seat because he couldn't see very good. And anyway, they got out there, and about first couple times, of course, Bill couldn't get up. He'd never skied before. And John's getting a little bit upset about this thing. And so finally, they tried it again. Bill gets up for a little ways, and he's going. And of course, he's got this thing wide open. And pretty soon Pat says, "Oh, he's down." And of course, John has her wide open, and he cuts that thing around like that. And about that time, he hits a wave, and over the side he goes. Now he's got this boat running full throttle with Pat in there, because she was the observer, and she's yelling, "What do I do? What do I do?" And of course, she knew how to drive a car, so she slid over there, but then she's trying to find a brake pedal down there, and she didn't know what was going on. First time she came around, and there was John in the water, and it's lucky he probably didn't have his life jacket on, because she came right over, almost over the top of him, and he could swim out of the way. And then the next time, about the same thing, he kept yelling, "Grab that handle and shut that thing down, shut that thing down." Anyway, finally, she got it shut down. And And then when John was trying to swim towards the boat, he said, something strange going on here. That boat's going backwards, and it's going, looks like sometimes it's dipping in the water. Well, finally you get up in there, and sure enough, he started pulling on that rope. You know, it had a white rope and it had that red handle on it. But there was something tugging on that rope. He kept pulling, then pulled back, and he pulled back on that rope and kept pulling, pulling, and pulling. Pretty soon there was about a 25 or 30 pound fish on there. He kept pulling on that thing. That fish had swallowed that whole handle. And well, you know, that was probably the biggest fish in that whole lake. And but none of them had a fishing license, and they couldn't pull this thing in. And then, of course, Bill was out there floating around somewhere in his life jacket, waiting for him to come and get him. So about the only thing they could think of was just cut it loose. So he unhooked it and let her go. And of course they went back, and now they have no more ski rope, so they couldn't ski anymore. But there was still stories that we heard for a long time about this big fish that used to be floating around there with this white streamer coming on him. And anyway, that's one of those fish stories that, you know, if you don't have the real evidence, you can't tell it, but that's the way it happened.
Thank you, Wayne. I don't know. Fishermen make some good liars, but we'll let the judges decide. Well, our next group is Joe Rush and Don Rowe, a tag team duo that are going to tell, they're going to tell, that's what my script says. They're going to tell us about their Antarctica trip that they took in 1947. Well, they planned it in 1947, but it didn't take it until about 1951 because they had to work for 7 years, that's 4 years apiece, to make the money for the trip. Growing up in southern Louisiana, they found it easy to find work hauling ice to the people in the country to use in their ice boxes. Well, they cut the ice from a small pond and hauled it in on an ice wagon pulled by horses. They did this for 2 years. Then they worked in a small airplane factory, and Don installed the propellers and Joe put the snow runners on the planes. Well, getting the passports, though, was the hardest obstacle for these two because they had to lie about their ages. At that time, you had to be 26 years old to get out of the country. I don't know, I'm not sure that this isn't just a bunch of bunk. But I can't wait to hear what the real story is that they've got cooked up. Gentlemen?
Hello there. You live here in the park?
Well, yeah.
What's your name?
My name?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Don Rowe.
Oh, well, nice to meet you.
Well, how do you do?
My name's Joe Pastorico.
Pastorico.
Yeah.
Sounds like a famous name.
Yeah, well, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from up in Rio, Wisconsin.
Rio, Wisconsin? Gosh, that's a long ways.
It might be called Rio.
Rio?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. I don't know where either
Rio
one.
or Rio.
Okay.
Wisconsin.
Well, I'm from Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it took me quite a while to get down here. We started out with dog sleds.
Really?
Me and my wife, she came with me. Did you bring anybody with you?
Yeah, I brought my wife.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good deal. We started out in, on them dog sleds, and we came about 400 miles, and we ran out of ice to slide them on.
Yeah.
And it was really a struggle to get the rest of the way because them dogs couldn't hardly pull that sled. we finally made it down here. Well,
How long did it take you to make that journey?
I think it was about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was.
Ah.
It's hard to remember anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
You're not quite as old as I am, but anyhow, what'd you do for a living?
Well, I tried several things. And I finally made a living at working in a shop.
Oh, well, that's a good deal. I was in the Air Force quite a while.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I learned a lot of things in the Air Force,
Yeah.
but I flew an airplane, and I've got a helicopter now.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Was that hat?
Yeah, that hat. I fly these small helicopters, and we pull wire along power lines.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people think it's dangerous, but it don't bother me.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for quite a while,
Yeah.
but
Well, if you were in the Air Force, you're probably a pretty brave man anyway, and
well,
you can,
I wasn't in the Air Force too long. I actually started out, I was in the Navy for a while. Actually, I always liked the Navy, the best of all of them, and when I was about 16 years old, I ran off from home and joined the Navy.
yeah.
Well, I borrowed some uniforms off a guy I ran into. He had a Navy hat and all this stuff. And he got me up on this boat,
Mhm.
and then they started asking for my credentials and all this. Well, I didn't have anything. You know, they made me get off that boat and sent me back home. Well, my parents, they was tickled to death to see me, but I ran off again. Second time, I went I went to this, I think it's called Jackson Naval Base, somewhere around Florida.
Yeah.
And I found these sailors, and they got buddying up with them, and we went in, and they said, well, I told them I'd like to be in the Navy, and they said, well, just come with us. And so I went with them, and they took me on this submarine, and then we went out to sea. Well, they couldn't bring me back, so I was in the Navy 13 years.
But now, what kind of submarine was that? What powered that?
Well, it was a steam engine.
In a submarine?
Yeah, it was a nice steam engine. And matter of fact, I worked in the boiler room quite a bit. I was an electrician. When I was in the submarine, I even learned how to play golf. You play golf?
Yeah, I play a little golf.
We were down there, and this one guy, I don't know why he brought golf clubs with us, but anyhow, he said, if you want to learn, he'd show me. So we just took and shot golf balls right out through them portholes and stuff like that. And the only trouble, we couldn't get back to retrieve them. But then, when we finally came back and I got back to shore, they realized I wasn't really in the Navy.
Was that right?
They just sent me back home again. But by that time, I was a pretty good golfer.
Yeah.
We went golfing. Well, me and my wife stopped one time on the way down here in the dog sleds and played golf. Yeah, we were in, I believe it was Arizona.
That's probably where the ice started melting. Right?
Yeah, I believe it was. We was playing golf out there, and I was pretty good at hitting it hard, but a lot of times I'd go out in them weeds, and I went out there, and you'll never believe what happened to my golf ball.
What happened to your golf?
Well, I went out there and hunted, and I couldn't find it, so I sent my wife out there. I found it. I got it with me. I'll show you. Yeah,
We'll see it.
it's right back here. I thought if I ran into anybody here tonight, I might be able to show them this golf ball.
Yeah.
I hit it,
Yeah.
and I think what happened, it went through that hole and got stuck in here somehow. And
That's amazing.
but I tried to tell my wife that that ain't my golf ball. It couldn't be. It couldn't get inside that thing like that.
No.
She took that, look at there. If you look real close, the ball's got my name on it. That's the same ball I had. I know it was. See my name on there?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, you don't have to have a cell phone, do you?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
Well, there's a lot of people got them things anymore. You know?
No.
And I think they're the biggest invasion of privacy there ever was.
Yeah?
What's that noise? Excuse me, I got a phone call coming in here. Yeah. No, I don't need to talk to him. I'll talk to him later. Oh, it is? Yeah? Sure. Well, I can get there a seat. Today is Tuesday, and if my wife don't have me knitting tomorrow, I can be there on Thursday. Okay. Yeah, I'll be there. It's about a 6-hour drive, but we'll make it. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
I hate to take a phone call when I'm talking to somebody, but you know, sometimes.
I understand. Probably an important phone call.
Yeah. Well, it was CBS. You know, I used to be a photographer there.
Oh, you did?
I was a photographer there for 14 years. I was in the Navy 13.
Yeah.
And then what I did was, when I was in war, well, I took a lot of pictures.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I got out, well, NBC got a hold of me, or CBS, I can't remember which one it was, but they called me, they wanted me to go back to work for a while.
Well, that's nice.
So,
Yeah. You're gonna...
I guess we'll have to go and leave the park here, but I'll be back next year. Are you coming back next year?
I hope to, yes.
Okay.
Especially if you can hook up with you and hear all these fabulous stories.
Well, and I can bring some pictures. They'll probably.
Yeah.
I do a lot of news pictures. You know, I drive my helicopter out through storms like tornadoes and hurricanes, and take these pictures.
Yeah.
And they really, people like them.
That's great, yeah.
So, well, I better be off now, and
Yeah.
maybe I'll talk to you next year.
Good luck at NBC.
Okay.
Or CBS.
Yeah.
Whichever.